The Middle East is constantly on fire. Wars, coups, civil wars, proxy wars, sanctions, and at least 3 different groups who all want the same city. People have a lot of theories about why. Religion, culture, ancient hatreds. Most of those theories are wrong, or at least incomplete. The real answer is simpler and more embarrassing. A handful of European men, sitting in rooms, made decisions about places they had never been, and then left. This is that story. For about 400 years, most of the Middle East was part of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans were Muslim, but they ran a multi-ethnic empire. Arabs, Turks, Armenians, Jews, Christians, all living under Ottoman administration. It wasn't a democracy. It wasn't always peaceful, but it was one system, with one set of rules, and mostly defined borders. Then came World War I. The Ottomans made a catastrophic decision and joined Germany. Germany lost, so the Ottoman Empire collapsed. After 400 years, the entire Middle East was suddenly up for grabs. Britain and France looked at each other. Then they looked at the map. Then they picked up a pen. In 1916, a British diplomat named Sykes and a French diplomat named Picot sat down and divided the Middle East between their 2 countries. They drew borders based on what was convenient for them, not on who actually lived there, not on tribal boundaries, not on ethnic groups, not on geography. Convenient. Syria went to France, Iraq, Jordan, and Palestine went to Britain. The people who already lived there were not consulted. At the same time, Britain made a promise. In 1917, the British Foreign Secretary sent a letter, now called the Balfour Declaration, saying Britain supported a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. Palestine, which already had people living in it. Britain was essentially promising the same land to 2 different groups simultaneously. This is the kind of decision that seems like a big problem immediately. It was. Fast forward 30 years. The Holocaust had just happened. The world agreed that Jewish people needed a safe homeland. The United Nations voted to partition Palestine into a Jewish state and an Arab state. Israel declared independence in 1948. The surrounding Arab countries immediately went to war with it. Israel won. 700,000 Palestinian Arabs fled or were expelled. They called this the Nakba, the catastrophe. Israel called it independence. Both things happened. Now add the Cold War. The United States and the Soviet Union were competing for global influence. The Middle East had oil. A lot of oil. This meant every single political event in the region became a chess move in a larger game. A leader who wanted to nationalize his country's oil. That was a communist threat. The CIA helped remove him. Iran, 1953. A leader willing to be friendly to Western oil companies? Excellent. Here are some weapons. The United States backed dictators across the region. In Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, Iraq, Iran, because stability and oil access mattered more than democracy. This created a pattern. Stable on the surface, furious underneath. Meanwhile, oil money transformed the Gulf states. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, the UAE. They went from desert backwaters to some of the wealthiest places on earth. Within a few decades, this wealth funded mosques, schools, and the export of a very conservative strain of Islam, Wahhabism, to countries across the region and beyond. So now you had arbitrary borders, unresolved displacement, Cold War proxy conflicts, and a religious influence campaign, all happening at the same time. 1979 was a particularly eventful year. In Iran, A revolution overthrew the US-backed Shah and replaced him with an Islamic republic under Ayatollah Khomeini. The United States had supported the Shah for decades. The Iranian people remembered this. Also in 1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. The US responded by funding and arming Afghan rebels, the Mujahideen, to fight the Soviets. Some of those weapons and fighters later became a different problem. In 1990, Iraq invaded Kuwait. The US assembled a coalition and pushed Iraq back. But the operation required stationing American troops in Saudi Arabia, home of Islam's two holiest cities, to Osama bin Laden, a Saudi militant who had fought in Afghanistan. This was an unacceptable desecration. He declared war on the United States. In 2001, his organization killed 3,000 people. In New York and Washington, the US invaded Afghanistan. Then Iraq. The Iraqi government collapsed. The Iraqi army was disbanded. Several 100,000 trained soldiers, suddenly unemployed, with weapons. In 2011, the Arab Spring, a wave of popular uprisings, swept across the region. Dictators fell in Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, Yemen. Syria's dictator didn't fall. He started a civil war. The chaos created a vacuum. Into that vacuum stepped ISIS, the Islamic State, which seized territory across Iraq and Syria, declared a caliphate, and became the most spectacular terrorist organization in modern history. Before being militarily destroyed, it was not the last group to try. So, why is the Middle East like that? Because Europeans drew arbitrary borders over existing populations, then made contradictory promises to different groups about the same land, then propped up authoritarian regimes for oil access. Then those regimes either fell or became so repressive they generated extremism, and every outside power that intervened to fix it made it worse. This is not ancient tribal hatred. This is a century of documented decisions, most of them made elsewhere, by people who were not planning to live with the consequences. The blunt historian, History Explained. No fluff. Next episode, how the Cold War actually worked. Because everything keeps coming back to it.